Hello, welcome. I'm Skip Elsheimer, and this is our AV Geeks Lunchtime streaming show where we want you to watch more movies. So we just watched Cornet Stock Can BQC, and that was a part of this giant batch of Cornet films that we got that we're slowly going through and scanning. And I'm Skip. Man, I always forget to turn off. I have it on another computer where I'm previewing, and sometimes I just forget. So these were reels of built-up kind of leftover footage or unused footage or from previous shoots that they would use and refer to in other film productions that they made. And there are hundreds of these cans, and they're all quite awesome. Somebody noticed that you could see the perfs in the frame line. Traditionally, it depends on what we're doing, but generally we scan. It depends on the client that we're doing it for. But we generally scan out a little bit so that we have a little bit of wiggle room so that we can capture. It really depends. But that's what we call scanning, so that you can actually see the frame line and the perfs a little bit. And you could tell, like on the right, there were perfs. With sound film, that's where the soundtrack would be, and you would see a visual... the visual soundtrack for optical soundtrack. Or if it was magnetic, it would just come off looking black. Yeah, there you go. There's all that information for you. Angry? You're all about getting angry? Here's a film that I love for many reasons. It is about a schoolyard incident, and it plays back like the JFK assassination analysis in the movie JFK. It's just like going through, and what it's great about it, and I think that adults should watch it, is it makes us realize, like, oh, we got angry about assumptions, and they were wrong. And all these kids ended up angry because they assumed the wrong thing. So here's Getting Angry.
The school bell hasn't rung yet, and everyone is still on the playground. Willie is angry, and so are all his friends. A few minutes ago, everyone was playing happily. Now no one is happy, and no one wants to play anymore. What happened here? Why is everyone upset? The story began earlier this morning, before Willie left for school. Today was Willie's birthday.
You'll be late for school, Willie.
His mother gave him the one present he wanted more than anything else, a scale model space capsule. Of course, Willie wouldn't take a toy to school, but since his class was studying space flight, he thought his teacher might like to show the space capsule to the class. On the way to school, he met Michael and Jose. Then Freddie and James caught up with them.
Hey, Freddie, Willie got some. I'm coming. it to you. My mother. For my birthday.
Willie's friends wanted to get to school early so they could play on the playground. But Willie didn't want to hurry. He was being very careful of his present. At the big intersection, he waited for the signal. Then he looked carefully for traffic before crossing the street. The space capsule was the best present he'd ever had, so he carried it very carefully. Near school, he met Maria and Lois and Perline.
Hey, Willie, what you got? Wait a minute, Willie.
Willie wanted the girls to see his present, but he thought it might be better if his teacher showed the capsule to the whole class at once. When he reached the schoolyard, he sat down to keep an eye on his present and watch his friends play. The boys were playing keep away. The girls were jumping rope.
40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48, 49.
Michael was finding out what his mother had packed him for lunch. Now watch. This is where the trouble started. The ball hit his birthday present. Willie was so angry at the boys that he took the ball away from them.
Get the ball, Willie! No! Be careful! Look where you're going!
Wait a minute, Willie. Now, slow down.
They all thought they knew exactly what had happened. But did they know? Listen to Willie and his friends tell their stories while you watch what happened again. See if their stories match what really took place.
James threw the ball, and now he hit my space capsule.
But Freddie threw the ball, not James. Did Freddie mean to hit the capsule?
Willie took the ball for no reason. He made my orange all dirty.
Jose bumped the lunch bag, not Freddie. Michael was mistaken too. In fact, no one was right. No one had stopped first to find out what had really happened. Instead, everyone got angry.
I can't eat dirty old orange.
Willie was so angry he didn't care what had happened. All he could think of was his best birthday present, ruined.
Can't even have another one anymore. My mother got it for me for my birthday, and now I can't get one to next birthday.
But everything that had happened was an accident. No one tried to hurt anyone else. Then why was everyone angry? Could the trouble have been prevented? How? What would you have done here? Stop the film and talk for a few minutes. Then, when you have some ideas, turn on the projector again and find out what Willie and his friends learned.
I love when they do this.
The capsule wasn't broken at all. Like a real space capsule, it was supposed to come apart. Miss Ferguson simply locked the pieces together again. If Willie had looked first, he would have seen this too, and he wouldn't have lost his temper. His friends decided that they too had acted without thinking. If they had found out first why Willie was upset, they wouldn't have gotten angry either. Getting angry didn't help Willie solve a problem. In fact, getting angry kept him from realizing that he didn't really have a problem. Accidents happen sometimes, and sometimes people don't stop to think. They just get angry. And when they get angry, they may hurt other people, even though they don't mean to.
Man, I love that film. It's so good. Hopefully, because of this organization, this company that I'm working with Coronet, they also own BFA Films, and I might be able to find the original materials for this. And this film, I've seen it in color. I don't have a color version of it, but I might be able to get a really nice scan of this. It's a great film. It's certainly for kids, but I think it's got some lessons for adults about getting angry and, not realizing it's all this knee-jerk response. This next film is about, this is part of that series, that Calvin series made for Alcoa managers about delegating work.
Yeah, honey, it's me.
Daddy, come out and eat.
Okay. Hi.
I'm trying to keep things warm for you. That is what's left.
Tell you the truth, honey, I'm not very hungry. How about a cup of coffee, huh?
What's the matter? Rough day?
Another day like today, and they'll be looking for a new foreman in the shipping department.
That's bad, huh?
Well, maybe not, but it's not good. And one darn thing after another all day long.
How come?
Oh, no. Seems like I can't depend on anybody to do the job anymore. Not even Al.
Al Weatherly?
Yeah. You know how long he's been with us. He knows our operation inside out. But what do I have to do? Check on every single thing he does.
I've heard you say that before. But why?
I don't know. Just doesn't do his job quite right. He stops just that far short of doing a good job.
Well, what happened?
Well, we get this special order from one of our biggest customers. So, I make a point of looking Al up to tell him about it. Let's find out. Al? Yeah, Joe? This can order from Brown Brothers. Now, it's pretty special. There's 800 gross, and I don't want any tie-ups, Al. Now, I want you to do two things for me. I want you to check those special labels for Brown Brothers.
Plenty of labels, plenty of them.
How do you know?
I used them yesterday.
Now, how many did you use?
Oh, about 6 rolls. Plenty of them left.
Well, if you use 6 rolls, Al, there's no 800 left. Now, you check and see if I'm not right. And listen, I want you to count those corrugated boxes. Don't guess at them, but count them and make sure.
Yeah? Okay.
I'll check back with you later if I have time and see how you made out.
Okay. Checker-upper.
Well, what happened?
We were 200 boxes short. I got tied up and didn't check back, and he got tied up and didn't check at all. Stuff's still sitting there.
Well, what did he say?
Well, said he was sorry. Said he got tied up on another rush job and forgot about it.
But you told him how important it was.
Well, he had an answer for that, too. Said I'd checked on everything he'd ever done for years anyway, and figured I'd do it this time. That's Al for you. I guess I should have checked. And Cora's just as bad. I have to check on everything that girl does.
I'm through checking these reports now. Shall I take them on up? Mr. Crawford said he wanted them right after lunch.
No, Cora. Put 'em down over there. I'll take 'em up later myself.
Don't you ever have confidence in what I do?
Certainly, Cora. Certainly. Most of the time I do. It's just that, well, I wanted to check these reports myself, that's all. Trouble was, I didn't get to it. I thought I would, but I didn't have time. And then something else came up. And then the fire inspector came by. And, of course, I had to be showing him through the plant when the boss came looking for me. Something wrong, Mr. Crawford?
Looks like we need your help, Joe. We can't find a shipping order.
I'm sorry, Mr. Crawford. I was just showing the fire inspector around.
Fire inspector? Couldn't somebody else show him around?
Oh, yeah, I suppose so, but I just like to be careful who I send with him. If somebody says the wrong thing, up goes our fire insurance rates.
Well, what I really wanted to see you about was that carload of goods for General Products. This wire came in about an hour ago. Stuff isn't there yet.
This is the load I had you figure, Hollis. Where's the shipping order?
I gave it to you this morning. You must have it somewhere.
Couldn't find it?
No. We looked there. We checked that, too.
Here it is. I just haven't had a chance to put it away yet. This isn't right, Hollis. You've got that stuff due in there tomorrow. Even for allowing splitting of the loads in Mobile and Columbus, the stuff ought to have been there yesterday.
Mobile. Didn't go Mobile.
I think I know what happened, Mr. Crawford. Yeah. You ship the stuff to Northern Route, Hollis. Takes 2 days longer that way.
Well, why didn't you route this shipment yourself, Joe? You knew it was urgent.
Well, I was squeezed for time, Mr. Crawford. I asked Hollis if he thought he could do it. He's used the rate book a couple of times before.
Yeah, but I didn't know there were 2 ways the shipment could go.
Well, get on it, Joe. Find out for sure when it gets there and let me know. I'll have to call him and give him some kind of an explanation. Oh, are these the reports I wanted right after lunch?
Yes?
Why didn't you get them up to me?
Well, I wanted to check them over first myself, Mr. Crawford. I just didn't have time.
Well, can't somebody else do some of these things?
I'll get them up to you before I leave, Mr. Crawford.
Well, okay, Joe.
I don't know. One thing for sure, I can't do it all myself. On the other hand, you give somebody a job to do and they don't do it. Why is it I can't depend on people?
The look that his wife gives him at the end is so good. More coffee, dear? Those films are really great. They give me a lot of joy because they don't really provide. They just show the bad behavior. They don't actually give a how to do it right. And I like that. I like just watching the bad behavior, as do a lot of us, I'm sure. So, what am I talking about? Boy, I just had a brain fart. It's because the date isn't right on the thing. That's why. Yeah, so, Have a Ham, thank you for the coffee. I think I got a film for you. It's not this next film, but it's the one after that. I can't always do requests, but sometimes the planets align and I can. If you like what we do, you can buy us coffee. You can also hit like or subscribe. That's free. That's just clicking a button with your mouse. Click or hitting with your finger. And then you can go to avgeeks.com and see other things that we've digitized from our collection and actually other collections too. And there's a bunch of stuff, like a bunch of stuff from the Prelinger archive that we digitized, a bunch of stuff from Oregon, from other collectors. We did like 600 NASA videos, lots of stuff, thousands. Anyways, this next film is on film. It's actually, we're going to watch it from the telecine, and it's a little splicey at the beginning, but it's great. It's called Red Light Return. Enjoy.
Use injuries from motor car accidents. On the Red Light Return. Of course, at the heart of the matter is the motorist. Well, maybe it isn't quite. To say nothing of our smooth, non-stop highways, some people don't pay nearly enough at the business of driving. Driving 40 miles an hour doesn't seem dangerous. But dangling 78 feet in mid-air does. Most people, casual drivers or careful drivers, have little conception of the forces at work during an auto collision. If we were to cut the cable and let the car drop, it would develop about 40 miles per hour terminal velocity. Don't worry, we got the driver out, electric razor and all. But in most collisions, the people stay with it. How can cars and motoring be made safer for passengers?
This is the work of the Institute of Transportation and Traffic Engineering of the University of California. These researchers have conducted some of the most thorough auto crash studies ever made. One of the variables in the current series of experiments involves the testing of different types of safety glass. Cars traveling at 40 miles an hour will impact stationary vehicles. The tests are designed to further the experts' knowledge of many collision factors. But especially for us, they will help to show why passengers so often ride back to the hospital with red light returns from crashes at speeds that may not seem excessive. In any auto collision experiment, it is the motorist we are really concerned with. This includes you and your family. But you can't be crash tested. Your proxies or sit-ins are mannequins that can be torn, gouged, and broken like people. They are called anthropometric dummies. The trauma-indicating child dummies are designed to simulate injuries or death. Some children will wear belts or harness. Some will not. The adult dummies will not use seat belts. At the conclusion of each crash, some of the findings will be checked on the spot. The bulk of the instrument recordings will require months for evaluation. But the answers we require about injuries and how to prevent them will be available at once. After weeks of preparation, the first experiment is ready to go.
It looks like it's about -5 minutes.
This is -2 minutes.
That's base, we're ready to go.
This is -1 minute.
Car down here, so as soon as you wind up, come on down.
This is -30 seconds.
Flash bulb installed. Okay.
Commence, run.
Over 20 cameras, operating at different speeds, view the crash from various angles. During the course of the program of experiments, it becomes obvious that two types of injuries, often fatal, even at city street speeds, can be avoided. The first involves passengers thrown from the car and dragged on the pavement. For emphasis as to what can happen, we will repeat the action. Even when such accidents are not fatal, the injury possibilities are obvious. And the really painful part, it can be prevented. After you have fastened your seatbelt, lock your door, and your passengers should lock theirs as well. This greatly increases its resistance to being forced open and can save your life or the lives of your family. With this simple extra precaution, you save yourself from hitting the street. Now, to save you from hitting your car with your face or head, You may think of yourself as being surrounded by metal. You're not. There is a 90% chance that in a collision you will impact glass. Here is what happens with conventional laminated windshield safety glass. At impacts of from about 15 miles per hour and up, the glass will break out in a circular hole where your head strikes it. The edges of the hole flex. Your head goes on through. The glass bubble retracts with a collaring effect that entraps your head. When the reaction hurls you back, the flexible perimeter of the hole becomes a jagged weapon of lethal intensity. The best way to avoid this is to stay alert every second as you drive. And remember, impacts at even relatively low speeds can be fatal. In experiment number 82, the striking car's windshield was made up of several different layers of safety glass and plastic. The test results were encouraging. On impact, the dummies did not penetrate the glass. Although the outside sheet cracked, the inside was so flexible it did not crack. There were no lacerations. As we have said, the terminal velocity experienced in a 40 miles per hour crash is identical to dropping a car 78 feet. If you do become involved in a collision, perhaps through no fault of your own, the only thing that can prevent you from hitting the windshield is your safety belt. But even the best belt can't do any good if it isn't fastened or is not fastened properly. Pull up the belt snugly. Wear it across the hips. After a car is 2 years old, check all the belts. At least the driver's belt may need replacing. The university engineers will be evaluating instrument data for months. But there is one result that will be obvious to anyone right now. Car bodies hold up well in all but the worst crashes. Human bodies do not hold up well unless they are restrained by belts or harness. So already we know these experiments can begin having results right now. Every hour of every day. On every road, street, and highway in the country. Each time we eliminate just one more red light return.
The Auto Dismantlers Association of America. That's a great name, and I'm sure that's where they got those junk cars from that they dropped from that crane. Visually, really great. I have to say I have some really good seatbelt films. So this one, the title is clipped, so I don't have an exact year on it. I looked it up on WorldCat, which is a kind of a database of media and books and film and records and whatever, and what libraries have them. And this one is attributed to being out in 1965, which is interesting because it wasn't required for cars to actually have seat belts until 1968. So in some cases, you had to order these special. This was something. Now, I don't know how many cars by 65 were actually offering it, saying like, well, here's a safety factor. But the fact that it was mandated in 68. And of course, people didn't use, even though they were in their cars, they didn't use them. So there you go. Okay, so I mentioned Have a Ham. He gave me some coffee, and he gave me a request. And like I said, sometimes I can fulfill requests, sometimes I can't. It really kind of depends on what I have, and it might take a couple of days or months. Some people have asked for things, and I just haven't found the film yet. Anyways, he wanted something about change, and I was like, I looked. I actually have shown a couple of films about one called Making Change, other types of things. And so this film is called Changing Food for Changing Times, and I love this film because it's very much related to what I talked about on Found Footage Festival's show, which will be airing not this Saturday, but the following Saturday, which is about cereal, specifically kids' cereal. And this film is made by the Cereal Institute, and it is basically a propaganda piece. I mean, you could argue all of the stuff I show is propaganda, but this is basically talking about, that we're busy now, and, it's hard to get our kids and our families nutritional foods because we're so busy. And so here's cereal, which is fortified and has everything that you need. Which, in hindsight, we realize now it's like, nope, there's some falsehoods here. But anyways, I love films of this time because they show, this effort. And Cereal Institute was a lobbying effort. They were a promotional effort. They were the ones that came up with the thing that was shown during all cereal commercials in the 70s and 80s, part of this complete breakfast, which basically shows eggs, bacon, toast, fruit, or orange juice, and then cereal. And it's like, what is cereal bringing to the table? Anyways, here it is. Changing food for changing times.
Home-oriented society. The breadwinner was the man of the house. Women were literally homemakers, keeping house and cooking meals, big hearty meals, because meal times were family traditions. Even breakfast was a sit-down family affair. The food was substantial, and so were the calories. These traditions remained much the same from World War I through the Roaring '20s, and changed in the '30s only to the extent that some Depression Americans didn't get enough to eat, period. World War II changed everything. The entire nation geared itself for war. Farmers took factory jobs. Women began working on assembly lines. Meat and canned goods were rationed, and nutrition became a government concern. Better diets were promoted in many ways. Breakfast cereals were a vital, unrationed food, and cereal makers voluntarily began adding thiamine, niacin, and iron to help meet wartime needs. After the war, more and more women took jobs outside the home. They spent less time shopping and preparing food. A new lifestyle had evolved, and the food industry responded. Thus, the appearance and acceptance of convenience foods during the 50s and 60s. Few housewives were willing to spend as much time in the kitchen as their mothers did. Today's working mother just doesn't have time for yesterday's lifestyle. She hears those who criticize processed foods, but she knows these foods give her time for other things. Nevertheless, there are many questions on her mind.
What can you eat nowadays? One day it's some problem with canned foods. Then a magazine article quoting some scientist who claims one single vitamin can solve everything. And then there's the talk shows. They have all kinds of people on criticizing one food after another. Actually, they're usually promoting some diet book they've written. That's the one thing they don't criticize. Bye-bye, sweetie. Oh, and the newspapers. Now, they either quote one scientist and scare you to death, or they talk to several and leave you so confused you don't even care. When it comes to cereals, I have been eating cereals all my life.
Hi, Mom.
Hi, sweetie. But today you hear so much criticism of cereals and processed foods in general that I just really don't know what's best for my family anymore. All I really want to know is, are cereals nutritious? How can I find out? Oh, and what about those sweetened ones people talk about?
Because of today's interest in food, the public is exposed to a confusing mass of information, some accurate and some not. To get a balanced perspective, it's helpful to listen to food and health professionals whose job it is to sort out the facts and educate the public.
It's no wonder people are confused about foods and nutrition. The body requires at least 45 different nutrients, and no one food contains them all. One of the first things we learn about nutrition is that fat, protein, and carbohydrates are all needed, together with vitamins and minerals. Yet people keep asking which nutrient is most important or which food is most nutritious.
This is Anita Janachik-Owen, public health nutritionist.
One thing that makes our job difficult is the misinformation the public receives about nutrition. It gets people concerned about food, and they seek easy answers like fad diets or too much emphasis on a single nutrient. I sympathize with editors and reporters. They have a tough job separating facts from all the exaggerations. It's tough enough for me, and I've been trained in nutrition and health and spend full time at it.
Most Americans are concerned about fats, and rightly so. Fat gives you more than twice as many calories per gram as protein or carbohydrates. Yet many Americans consume about twice as much protein as they need without realizing that animal protein is usually accompanied by a substantial amount of fat. Carbohydrate foods, on the other hand, are mistakenly avoided as fattening by many people when they're actually low-fat sources of energy and nutrients.
When it comes to enriching or fortifying foods, some people miss the point completely. The fact is that certain foods are so widely consumed and relatively inexpensive that they are ideal carriers of nutrients that people need. Salt, for example, is a good carrier for iodide, and milk for vitamin D. Likewise, breads and cereals are effective carriers of added nutrients. Several years ago, we implemented a flour and cereal enrichment law in Arizona. We worked with professionals in the food industry to get the facts straight so that we could develop regulations which were effective and realistic. We learned that most ready-to-eat breakfast cereals were already fortified, so they were no problem. And the large corn and flour millers cooperated immediately. It's been a tougher job to get the small tortilla shops to enrich their products, but real progress has been made.
When people ask me about cereals, I explain that even though most ready-to-eat cereals are fortified, no one cereal provides all the nutrients you need, and neither does any other food. If you look at a cereal box, you'll see the nutrition information in a form developed by the Food and Drug Administration. This type of labeling, which is appearing on more and more foods, has been a big step in minimizing the confusion about which nutrients various foods contain.
Nevertheless, people are still confused by such things as misleading single-food animal studies. Dr. D. Mark Hegsted, former chairman, Food and Nutrition Board of the National Academy of Sciences, National Research Council, became so concerned about this that he decided to prove just how unsound single-food animal research can be. His results demonstrated that even such common foods as milk, hamburger, bread, cereal, spinach, potatoes, and orange juice did not support normal growth and development in young laboratory rats when each food was the only source of nutrients. The rats thrived only when fed a nutritionally complete diet. Just the opposite of single-food diets is the way certain foods supplement one another.
Dr. James Kirk of Michigan State University explains.
This cereal is fortified to provide 25% of the recommended daily amount of 7 key vitamins and iron in a 1-ounce serving. It's fortified at this level because many nutritionists recommend that breakfast provide about 1/4 of the day's nutrients and calories. This pattern, now common among ready-to-eat cereals, realistically recognizes that cereals are served with milk more than 95% of the time. Thus, the nutrients added to these cereals are deliberately chosen to complement the nutrients present in milk. Let me show you what I mean. This chart shows the proportion of key nutrients in a cereal and milk serving. The cereal is shown by the gray area, the milk shown by the dark area. Notice that the cereal is high in iron, some B vitamins, vitamins A, C, and carbohydrates. Whole milk is low in these nutrients, but an excellent source of calcium, protein, and phosphorus. Both foods, of course, contain nutrients in addition to these. When you eat cereal with milk, you are combining plant and animal proteins. Normally, your body utilizes each type of protein to a different extent. But when you combine them, the nutritional value of the plant protein is increased. Macaroni and cheese, chicken and noodles, and a ham sandwich are other popular combinations of plant and animal proteins.
Whenever we're speaking to parents or dental hygienists, one of the questions asked most frequently is, do pre-sweetened cereals increase tooth decay? The answer is no. And this answer is derived from several investigations, one of which was carried out here in Boston at the Forsyth Dental Center. Our study involved about 1,000 children, 7 to 11 years of age, from 690 families in metropolitan Boston. This is an area without significant amounts of fluoride in the drinking water. The participants received all the breakfast cereals they wanted, both regular and pre-sweetened, free for 2 years, so that their consumption of cereal was higher than average. Complete dental examinations were made at the start of the study and at annual intervals. In spite of the children's free access to unusually large quantities of regular and pre-sweetened cereals, no increase in tooth decay could be related to the cereal consumption. Similar conclusions have been reported by other dental researchers at the University of Michigan and the University of Alabama. Tooth decay is an extremely complicated disease, and as you know, sugar is involved. However, the sugar content of a food is not the only important factor. The frequency of eating, the stickiness of a food, the length of time that it's retained on the teeth before it's washed away or swallowed. Whether a food is taken as part of a meal or part of an in-between meal snack, all of these factors are important in determining whether or not a given food contributes to the process of tooth decay. Cereals are consumed most frequently as part of a meal and with milk most of the time. These are probably the reasons why these studies did not show any increase in tooth decay resulting from the consumption of either regular or pre-sweetened cereals.
Why were pre-sweetened cereals developed in the first place? Because that's the way many people were eating their cereal, with sugar. One has to recognize that sugar is consumed in many foods during the day, but rarely with the level of nutrients found in these fortified cereals. A fortified cereal and its pre-sweetened counterpart are similar nutritionally. Let's look at the nutritional composition of 2 popular cereals. This chart shows the nutrient composition of 1 ounce of corn flakes and pre-sweetened corn flakes. Notice the similarities between these 2 cereals. The pre-sweetened cereal is fortified with the key vitamins and iron, the same as the non-pre-sweetened cereal. There is a lower level of protein, calcium, phosphorus, and magnesium in the pre-sweetened cereal, yet the amount of these differences is not significant in the total day's diet.
There is no simple way to eliminate tooth decay. However, it may be reduced. The most important method is by water fluoridation. Other important methods include the reduction of in-between meal eating, good toothbrushing and flossing, and regular checkups with your dentist.
Today's breakfast is often prepared and eaten at different times by different family members. And quick-to-serve foods are increasingly important. More women are working than ever before. In 1975, 37 million American women were in the labor force, and 50% of the working married women had children under 18 years of age. In many homes, children must either get their own breakfast or skip the meal. Today, 25% of all breakfasts include cereal. It's become a mainstay, not a mere component of breakfast. In fact, a serving of ready-to-eat cereal with milk is now the #1 home breakfast choice. And why? Because today's lifestyle imposes the need for this convenience food, now found in more than 90% of all American homes.
Cereals are not a perfect food, and no one claims it. Currently, efforts are being made to add additional minerals to cereals, since many diets are deficient in them. But this has to be done without affecting the taste or consumer appeal, for a product that no one eats makes no nutritional contribution at all. Realistically, cereal manufacturers have to offer a variety of products to meet the taste preferences of a large and diverse population, like these bran cereals, which are just now being recognized as an important source of fiber, since studies have shown that only 1 out of 20 school children eats an adequate breakfast. If cereals can combine taste appeal, convenience, and nutrition, they can make a major nutritional contribution. A recent analysis of the breakfast eating patterns of nearly 300 children showed that those who tended to eat ready-to-eat cereals skipped breakfast only 6% of the time, while those children who didn't eat these cereals skipped 20% of the time. This indicates these foods are playing an important role.
Today, in this land of plenty, the average citizen eats better and for a smaller part of his paycheck than any citizen in the world. This is due not only to the American farmer and our agricultural productivity, but also to the most efficient food processing and distributing system in the history of mankind.
Because of today's lifestyle, choosing the right food is more important than ever, and that's where nutritional labeling can be a big help. You can learn the facts not only about hot and cold cereals, with and without milk, right from their packages. You can also find out about other breakfast items, from bread wrappers, milk containers, and some egg cartons. If you're interested in good nutrition at breakfast, there's really no excuse for ignorance anymore.
Cereal makers are constantly trying to strike a workable balance between what science says people need and what they actually buy. In other words, cereals will continue to use the facts about needed nutrients, as they have over the years. But keep in mind that no matter what is added to a cereal, if that cereal doesn't satisfy your taste or fit your lifestyle, you're just not going to buy it.
All the vitamins and minerals in the world don't mean a thing if you can't get your child to eat.
Today's shoppers can learn more about food and nutrition in 1 year than their grandparents could in a lifetime. And just as no single food can provide all the body's nutrients, no single point of view has all the answers about nutrition. It takes a balanced view, one that considers the roles of science, education, and industry, to cut through the confusion and understand how today's foods fit the needs of today's lifestyle.
Yeah, that cereal doesn't fit my lifestyle. I would say that some of the brand cereals certainly cramp my lifestyle based on what they do to one's body. But that's a fascinating film. I have another one that I'm going to try to hunt down, which is It is a promotional film for Hidden Valley Ranch dressing, couched in the importance of salad bars in school cafeterias. It's the same type of film. It's so you say all that stuff, and then at the very end of the film, it's like, you know what? It doesn't matter how nutritious something is. If your kid doesn't eat it, your kid doesn't eat it. So that seems to be the logic at the end. Is like, you know what? If my kid wants to eat cereal, I'm just going to let them eat cereal. It's got some vitamins in it and some carbs, some, just whatever. I can't get them to eat anything else that is green or good for them, so they're just going to eat cereal. And, that next logical step, of course, if they want to eat toothpaste, just let them. It doesn't cause tooth decay. It's sweet. Just let them eat it. Anyways, thanks, guys, for tuning in today. Man, I love films like that. I love finding the ones that are just like, this is a complete, push to propagandize how good cereal is for you and how important it is and all that stuff. I always try to find those on eBay. And I think I found that one on eBay, to be honest. Anyways, if you like what you saw, hit like, subscribe, notifications, blah, blah, blah. Share with your friends, family, enemies. You can buy me coffee here. And maybe that will, the next time I do this show, maybe I'll know what day it is. Obviously, it is not the 21st. And you can go to avgeeks.com. I should say that at 3 o'clock, I am showing, I'm doing a show with the Hunt Library, NC State's library, and we're going to have an expert, and we're going to talk about films about speech, pronunciation, and we're going to have an expert from their language department who is going to talk about it. So come back here, or come back to whatever the new link is. But we'll see everybody. Everybody have a good weekend. Otherwise, I'll be back on Monday. And everybody take care of yourselves. As always, look inside the film can for advice. And it is to please rewind and love each other. And I don't know if you guys remember, but this is actually a peace sign that somebody drew inside of the film can. A very bored student. So take that for what it is. Everybody take care, and we will see you again soon. Take care. Bye.